Today we're going to go through 3 examples of the first in, first out, or FIFO method of costing inventory. FIFO is when the first items that we bought, or the oldest items that we have in our inventory, we assume are the first ones that we sell. So in this example, we have 3 purchases in our inventory. On April 1st, we purchased 800 units for $7 a unit, or a total cost of $5,600. On April 10th, we purchased 900 units for $8 a unit for a total cost of $7,200. And on April 25th, we bought 1,300 units for $850 a unit, or a total cost of $11,050. Okay, so our prices are going up, but we're still buying. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is let's add up our total number of units, just so we have that. So we have in our inventory a total of 3,000 units at the end of the month, and the total cost at the end of the month is $23,850. Okay, so let's go through some examples. On April 5th, we sell 500 units for $10 a unit. Remember, we're doing first in, first out. So our cost of goods sold is going to be the 500 units that we sold, 500 times our cost of $7 a unit, because we're assuming that we're selling part of the inventory that we purchased on April 1st. So that's going to be $3,500. Okay, so our cost of goods sold is $3,500. Our beginning inventory is $5,600. Because as of April 5th, we have only made the first purchase, right? We haven't bought the inventory yet on April 10th or April 25th because it hasn't happened yet. Today's only the 5th. Okay, so our cost of goods sold is $3,500. So our ending inventory is going to be our beginning inventory of $5,600 minus our cost of goods sold of $3,500, and that gives us an ending inventory of $2,100, because again, at this point, we've only bought this first purchase. Okay, then we're going to calculate our sales. So our sales are going to be the 500 units we sold times $10 a unit. So that's going to be $5,000. Minus our cost of goods sold, which we said was $3,500. That's going to give us a gross profit of $1,500 and a gross profit percentage of 30%. Remember, gross profit percentage is gross profit divided by sales. We can just write this over here. Divided by sales. Okay, so that's our first example. We're going to continue on now with a second example. In the second example, let me just scroll down a little bit so you can see the whole thing. In our second example, we're going to sell 1,000 units for $10 a unit on 4/15. Okay, we're going to pretend the first example didn't happen, okay? So because we don't want to keeping track of what we've sold. We're only really looking at what we bought and at what point did we sell it. So we've made, at this point, the first 2 purchases, right? Because it's the 15th of April. So we've made the first purchase, 800 units for $7 a unit, and the second purchase, 900 units for $8 a unit. So our cost of goods sold, we sold 1,000 units. So first in, first out, the first thing we're going to sell is these 800 units. So we're going to have 800 times 7, or $5,600. That's the cost. Oops. 800 isn't enough to fill our order. So now we have to sell some from our second purchase. And in fact, we have to sell another 200 of those times $8, because remember, we bought the second batch at $8 a unit. So that's going to be plus 200 times 8, $1,600. So our total cost of goods sold for all 1,000 units is $7,200. We sold the entire first batch, which cost us $5,600, and 200 units from the second batch at a total of 1,600. Add the two together, we get 7,200. All right, so then our beginning inventory is the 5,600 plus the 7,200. Remember, it's only the 15th of April, so we haven't bought this last batch yet. So our beginning inventory is just those two batches. Minus cost of goods sold. So we go minus cost of goods sold of 7,200. And our ending inventory will be 5,600. So that's how much we have left that we can sell. And then calculating our sales, remember we sold 1,000 times $10 a unit, $10,000 in sales minus cost of goods sold, which was 7,200. So our gross profit is going to be 10,000 minus 7,200, or 2,800, and our gross profit percentage will be 2,800 divided by our total sales of 10,000, or 28%. You can see when we were only selling the units that cost $7, we were making a 30% gross profit. Now that we have a mix of these two, our gross profit has reduced down to 28%. So our costs are increasing, but we haven't raised our prices. And that's why our gross profit percentage, or our gross margin ratio, is I believe what we were actually calling it. Let's go ahead and change that so that we're consistent. Margin ratio is 28%. All right, let's do one last example for FIFO. And in this last example, it's going to be 428. So now we've purchased all three batches. And again, we're assuming we haven't sold anything yet. So this one, each example is standalone and doesn't take into account anything that's previously happened in previous examples. All right, so we're going to sell 2,000 units. So it's first in, first out. So the first thing we're going to do is sell the first batch that we bought. So we're going to sell all 800 of those at $7 a unit for a total of $5,600. We need to sell a total of 2,000, so we're also going to sell everything in the second batch. And we're going to sell all 900 of those times $8. And that's going to be $7,200. Maybe I better do my math just to make sure. Oh, I got it right. All right. So far, though, we only have 1,700 units. I need to sell an additional 300 to make up my full 2,000. So I'm going to sell 300 from that last batch. So I'm going to sell 300 times 850 and plus 300 times 8.5, and that's going to be 2,550. So my total cost of goods sold to sell 2,000 units is going to be $15,350. So I sold 800 from the first batch, I sold all 900 from the second batch, and then I sold 300 from the third batch to make up my total 2,000 units that I'm selling. My beginning inventory at this point includes all three batches minus my cost of goods sold. Uh-oh. All right, so minus my cost of goods sold of $15,350 gives me my ending inventory of $8,500. That's how much I could sell in the future if I don't buy any more inventory. And real quick, we'll calculate our sales. So our sales, we're selling 2,000 units times $10 a unit. We haven't raised our prices, even though our costs are going up. So plus 2,000 times 10. And then minus our cost of goods sold, $15,350, is going to give us a gross profit of $4,650. To get my gross, we're calling this our gross margin ratio, I'm going to take my gross profit and divide it by my sales. And I'm going to have my gross profit margin has now decreased to 23.25% because my costs are going up. I haven't passed that along to my customers. My prices that I charge my customer are the same. All right, hopefully that helps you to better understand FIFO. In the next video, we're going to look at last in, first out, or LIFO. See you then.